Hi, I'm Lisa London. I'm a casting director. I'm 5'5", and you're listening to How We Roll.
When it comes to working in entertainment, there's a lot of hows, and they all boil down to how we navigate this wild industry. While how we follow our dreams is uncertain, how we roll along the way is in our hands. Welcome to How We Roll, a podcast for actors by casting networks.
Welcome to How We Roll, Lisa. I am so excited to finally do this with you. Thank you for being here.
Absolutely. I'm so excited.
I know I had my Kristen Wiig hands in the air. I'm like, I'm so excited.
Yeah, exactly. I'm thrilled. Thank you for having me.
Oh, of course. And I just want to say on behalf of all the actors out there listening, not listening on social media, thank you for everything you do, from your classes, coaching, to, again, your social media posts. You are just a guide for all of us in this industry and help us get on that healthy and happy path, which I think relates to exactly what we're going to discuss today. So I wanted to start with a place of gratitude because you're really doing so much. So thank you.
Oh, well, thank you very much. I love to help actors, so that's always been my vibe. So I'm glad that I can help and do that. So I really appreciate that.
Oh, I'm glad to hear that. And I guess speaking of that vibe, for some context here, I know you actually grew up in this biz because of your dad, Jerry, who seemed like such an amazing director and worked on all these iconic shows. When was the first time you remember thinking, okay, I really want to be the one championing actors and working with actors and helping them succeed?
That's actually a really great question because I grew up in the business with my father who, directed all these shows, these iconic shows in that, from the Brady Bunch and Partridge Family and Kojak and $6 Million Man and Rockford Files. So I grew up on sets. So I spent a lot of time when after school and I'd go, him going to the set and I'd hang out and I'd talk to actors. And I was always interested in actors' journey. How'd you get there? I don't know why. I just was, right, as a kid. So I went to college and I studied at the University of Southern California, and I studied cinema and television there. And during my summers, I worked as a production assistant on movies that my father did, movies of the week. And what happened was I didn't know actually I was going to get in casting. I did not know that in college. But I always, like I said, when I was on these sets, I really liked actors and I talked to actors. When my father did Shogun, the original Shogun, I went to
Wow.
Japan. John Rhys Davies, who is an amazing actor. If you guys know him, he was in all the Indiana Jones movies. And I used to sit on his lap and he would recite Shakespeare to me.
I would say write a book already, but you've already done that. So,
Yeah. Anyway, so what happened is when my dad did a pilot and he let me sit in on those casting sessions when I was a production assistant. And those casting directors at the time, who had one of the top companies, which was Lynn Stolmaster and Tony Howard, they said in the sessions, what do you think? And I was like, oh, this one's good. This one's great. Okay, those two, no, that doesn't work. But that one works with that one. And I
hmm.
had all these opinions. And that's kind of how I got started. But it was very interesting because when I started as an assistant, then I realized that was my path
Mm.
because of the fact that I always liked actors. I used to tear out articles in magazines
Oh,
of actors.
wow.
And I had a big file, and my mother would go, "What are you doing with these?" I go, "I don't know." And so I feel in a way that it was sort of the path. I didn't know that was how it was going to go because I always sat on sets and I would talk to the actors. I learned lots about production. Like I had a big overview about production, but that's kind of how it started.
So cool. And I think what I loved learning most about your journey, aside this dreamy life growing up on set, is that I believe, and we could talk about this maybe in a future episode because I already want to have you back. I think you're incredible. Is that you said you wanted to just be a casting director. I think you went from assistant to director, you skipped the associate. So you had this kind of belief in yourself, which I
Right.
think translates to today's topic. It's all about mindset and mindfulness for actors. Just to start, as a creative person yourself, what is your sort of mindset routine, or how do you approach that?
Let's say this, every aspect of this business, I feel you have to have a certain mindset to continue to persist. Have to have the joy, which I definitely have the joy as a casting director. I love helping actors, right? I love casting. I love putting an ensemble together. I love finding new talent. I love creating all that magic that happens on the screen, right? With talent. So I have always had that joy. That's why I love to teach. That's why I love to coach. That's why I love to cast and I'll do all those things. But I do believe you have to have the mindset every day. Of course there's challenges in my field and all of our fields, right? We work in this business called show. So my routine is really about that I love it and I find joy in it. It's not that I don't have any difficult moments because I do, but I feel that when I get up in the morning, my mindset is like, okay, well, what am I going to do today to create my career? And
Hmm.
that's I'm an independent casting director, right? I'm not on staff anywhere. So I have to get jobs just like actors. So it's what am I going to do today? What little thing, what one little step can I do today to keep creating my career? And I think that's a mindset that actors can also adapt because as an actor, you can't sit around anymore waiting for a phone to ring. That does
Hmm.
not work, right? And we go through a lot of highs and lows in all aspects. Doesn't matter whether you're a writer, producer, director, casting director, actor, production personnel, it doesn't matter, right? We all go through the highs and lows. So it's what can you do every single day to create your career? What
Hmm.
little thing? It doesn't have to be, "Oh my god, I have to do the biggest thing in the world," but what one little thing can you do every single day? And that's what I have to tell myself.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I heard Jessica Chastain, who we love Bow Down, say something
Yes.
similar, which is that she had
Oh,
a long
really?
journey before she, came to success. And she said she would do something every day that made her call herself an actor. So she was, I think, transcribing Hamlet into a female perspective just for herself. And I love that advice because it kind of gives you control in this industry where we really have no control.
Absolutely.
I think that's
You know,
beautiful.
and also, Rob, it doesn't, as an actor, I can say it doesn't matter what you do as long as you're creating something for your
Hmm.
career. That could be whether you're in a class. It could be whether you're getting together with a group of actors and you're reading a script.
Hmm.
It could be you're watching movies to get more educated on different ways to play roles. It could be reading books. And it could be reading books, not only about actors, but maybe about directing, maybe about producing. There's a million things you can do every day to create towards your career,
Hmm. I think that's so true.
right?
Speaking of Jessica Chastain, who's sort of this beautiful titan in the industry, you've worked with so many of these titans. I was trying to find a word for it. I'm just going to say, Lisa, you're a meteoroid. I mean, because I feel like you've created a lot of shooting stars. I was going to say you shot stars, but that did not sound right. So I said meteoroid. And I feel like from Jennifer Aniston in Leprechaun, which is a cult classic, Emma Stone in House Bunny, which I also love, Miley Cyrus, who got the best of both worlds. I mean, the list goes on. Have you noticed, as we're looking at mindset for actors out there, have you noticed a common thread in these folks that have gone on to have these incredible, iconic careers as far as mindset and maybe the aura and vibe they just bring into a room?
Well, yeah, so that's two different things. One is I feel that these actors that go on to have very successful careers, I feel they work really hard.
Hmm.
That's the thing. And I don't mean hard in a way like, oh, takes so much effort and it's not that kind of hard. They're just persistent and they put in the work, you know? That's the trick. Have to put in the work in this business. And so that's one side of it. I feel that when I look at all these people, like you can go from like Lady Gaga, who is writing songs for other people way back,
Mm-hmm.
there's so many people whose career, I mean, one of my favorite stories is Bryan Cranston.
Hmm.
who talks about that he got his first job for Malcolm in the Middle in his 40s, and
Mm,
he got his iconic role in Breaking Bad in his 50s. Okay. It's he him
yeah.
working it, you know, working hard. It takes a huge amount of persistence. And, you know, there's a lot of, you know, rejection and things that happen. But if, like I said, I'll go back to you love it, it's really what you want to do, then you keep persisting along that road. And I feel what all those actors have who go on to be hugely successful is not only their charisma and their je ne sais quoi, as I'll say, right? That
Ooh, yes.
intangible quality, you know, about them, but they work really hard. They're they're
Hmm.
they're hard workers and they work on the craft,
Hmm.
you know. Now look, if you're a kid and like Miley, when we cast Miley and Hannah, she was 12, right?
Yeah.
It's not like she had a whole buttload of
Yeah.
experience, right? But she, you know, she had a certain persona, a certain charisma about her, and when she came in a room, she lit up a room. She had that
Hmm.
spark, you know, that shine, and that's part of it.
Yeah, getting back to the childlike energy in all of us too is something I've really, I mean, it's not hard for me because I'm a man child, but something I've really thought about and tried to work toward because you do
Yeah.
take all these classes and you learn a lot of business tips and things can get in your head. It's so subjective. And so remembering to just bring that fun to it is such an important lesson, I think. And it also never stops, right? I mean, look at Ariana Grande. You would think she wouldn't have to audition like she had to for Wicked with this big platform she's on, but she put in a year's worth of work to even just audition. And I think those are important lessons. So,
Absolutely, all of them, and they made everybody audition for Wicked.
mm,
What I read, I mean, I think Cynthia Erivo auditioned too.
yeah,
You know, I mean, and she's a huge Broadway star, amazing actress. She auditioned, you know. So
yeah,
you just never know, but whatever it is, when opportunity comes and those moments happen, it's that quote, right? When preparation
mm,
meets opportunity, because you need to be prepared. So,
you do. Yeah.
yeah.
And part of that preparation that I can't wait to talk to you about is the mindset and mindfulness angle. Because you could know all your lines, you could have a bunch of different takes on the role prepared, a bunch of different perspectives. But if you get into an audition or have a self tape or go to a meeting or whatever it is, and you kind of get in your own way and you're not centered or just being a human in a normal way, I guess, if there is a normal way, then you're not going to meet that opportunity. So I think an interesting place to start with you would be in regards to auditions. Are there certain exercises or tips you have for actors to get into that good headspace and vibe before they actually hit record or go into a Zoom or go into a room?
Yeah, so I want to talk about one thing and then I'll give you those little tips from my perspective. But
Yeah.
self-confidence, right? The word confidence means your belief in yourself, right? Your self-assured belief in your abilities, your skills, right? And your knowledge. That to me is first off, you have to believe in yourself, right? So when you're going to do a self tape or you get a call back and you're going to be on Zoom or you're going to go in person, you want to have that confidence in yourself because that comes through in an audition. And that's part of what we look for. I just want to say, like, your confidence, we can see it. It's
Hmm.
okay to be nervous. I don't want to say don't be. That's not true. I like turn that nervousness, I always say, into nervous excitement.
Yeah.
But,
It's the same
you
feeling
know,
scientifically, I think I've read.
right. You know, to go, okay, I'm nervous. People have said that to me so many times in a room on Zoom. I'm nervous. Like, okay, great. Hey, don't be nervous. Don't worry. We're just going to have fun. We're just going to
Hmm.
read it and we're going to have fun. So that's one thing about, you know, but my point is that you got to have first the belief in yourself, right? And to be an actor, you got to believe in yourself or any aspect of the business. You got to believe you can do it,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
So that's first. So when you are going to do an audition or a callback, some of the things that I say to actors, and this is just me, everybody's got their own way to do something, but I say, Breathe. Number
Mhm.
one, breathe, right? Whether that's you take a few deep breaths before you even come on the screen. Sometimes there's all different kinds of breathing exercises, but you can breathe in for 4, hold it, let it out for 4, relax before you do that audition. That's number one, I would say, because a lot of people are like, so nervous about it, which I totally understand, right?
Yeah.
So don't hold your breath because
Yeah,
that's not
because you probably then see a lot of actors, whenever I've been on the other side of the table, then, and I'm sure I've done it, instead of breathing in, it's like start the scene and they sort of exhale. It's like,
yeah.
and that's like, you're just kind of depleting yourself, it's the opposite. So this is a great reminder.
Yeah, so that's one thing I think is important, especially I know for people when they're going to get a Zoom callback, they tend to get, "Oh, I'm nervous about that." Or
Yeah.
a callback in person. When you're self-taping, it's a little different. You're in your room, a house, you can do it a couple of times and then move on. So it's not as you might not be as nervous as you probably won't be as when you're going to get a Zoom or a callback, right? But breathe. Remember to breathe is first. The other thing is do something for yourself. Like, well, maybe you have to listen to music. Maybe you listen to some songs, or there's certain music that may pumps you up and makes you feel okay. This is going to get me in the zone, whatever that is for you, right?
Dolly Parton.
Yeah, whatever it is, Adele, whoever it is,
Yeah, yeah.
whatever you need to listen to before that gets you in the headspace, gets you focused. The main thing for the mindset is you want to be focused and you want to be ready to listen and take direction.
Mm, that's super important, right? Because then if you book the job and get on set, what's going to happen?
The main
Direction.
thing direction. And I find, and I've done so many callbacks and live in person and Zoom where directors, producers, casting directors give actors direction and they don't change it up. And so my opinion on that is that's why I'm saying take the time to be focused before you come on the screen. You've made your choices, or you come in a room in person and you've made your choices, you make them, and then when they give you that direction, if you're focused and you're super prepared, you can process that and take that direction.
It's funny you say choices. I mean, it's not funny. Or casting director, of course, we would say choices at one point. But I've been asking different casting folks what that actually means to them because I think we know what it means as an actor, but
Right.
sometimes you hear make a choice and you're sort of like, is it just the perspective of the person? Does that mean I should be louder? Should I talk faster? What does a choice mean to you when you say that to an actor?
To me, it means it's taking that little description of a character and your material, your scenes, and you're making a choice using your creative imagination on how you want to play that character, and you're committing to that choice all the way through. That's to me what it means. You commit to your choice, right?
I love that.
Yeah, that's what it means to me. I mean, and that could be whatever it is. When you look at like Will Ferrell, who does these amazing, crazy, wild characters, he commits all the way
Yeah.
through to that choice,
Yeah.
right? So you as an actor, when you're doing a self-tape, it's committing to that choice. That's what it
Hmm.
is. Coming in a room, you're committed to your choice, but you must be malleable, fluid.
Hmm.
You gotta be able to change it up when asked because directors will ask you, hey, try this. Let's change this. What about this moment? Whatever they're going to say. And that's because when you get on a set, they want to make sure you can do that.
Well, I'm guessing you are that way in an audition setting. I'm sure you're very malleable because I've heard you say over and over that part of casting's job is to make an actor feel comfortable, which is very kind. As a casting director, in that vein, what do you like to see most in that preamble or pre-chat in a room or on a live Zoom? Are you sort of malleable depending on the actor coming in, or do you prefer a certain way? Do you prefer people to just come and do their job? Do you like to chit chat? What is your vibe there? And even to extend to a slate, because I think sometimes people use the slate in that regard too.
Yeah. Okay. So on when they come in a room, I like to chit chat because to me, when they come in a room where they're on Zoom, I always chit chat a little. Now, let's say it's a very serious role. An actor, it's your 10 minutes in a room, whatever
Mm.
that is. It's your time. So you're welcome to say, "Hey, do you mind if we chat after?" if you're in the zone for a very serious role or whatever that is. So you can do that. But I like to chat because to me, what I miss the most about being in the room with actors is that's how you get to see their essence, their
Mm.
vibe, and I miss that as a casting director. That's why I like to do at least Zoom pre-reads when I can because at least it's the next best thing to being in a room.
Yeah.
But part of casting is the connection and seeing what an actor does and seeing their personality. And part of that is by talking to them.
Yeah. And we need more of that in the world, I think, in general, right? We're missing
And
that connection.
also it's engagement, like,
Mm.
hey, when I ask you, how are you doing? Or where are you from? Or whatever it is,
Yeah.
are you communicating back to me? Are we having a conversation? That's part of seeing your vibe, just like in life,
Yeah.
meet people.
Yeah, for
So
sure.
that's that part when you go in the room. You asked me about the slate. So on the
Yes, the
slate,
slate.
now listen, this is me. Okay. I tell actors you should show personality on a slate. So for example, whatever that is, you don't have to just be, "Hi, I'm Lisa London. I'm 5'5" and I live in Los Angeles." It doesn't have to
Hmm.
be that. And now some cast directors might tell you, "I don't care about the slate. They
Mm.
just want the name, the height, where you're from, and that's it, right?" I'm saying I like personality because that when I take my notes, I look at the slates first.
Mm.
So I write down that I have a whole thing of all my notes. So I write down their name, where they're from, the height, and I'm looking at their vibe right off there. So let's say you speak Spanish. I don't know.
Mm.
You could be like, "Hola, ¿cómo está? Mi amo
Hmm.
Lisa." Whatever, or whatever you want to do in a slate. I mean, short, unless they tell you they want a personality chat on a slate. That's a different but which we've done sometimes,
Mm.
especially with kids, we'll ask for a personality slate where we'll ask a question and see how they respond to it. But
Mm.
otherwise, I think it's okay to put a little fun into your slate. That's me.
I love that. Yeah, I think it's great to have all this knowledge because when you're armed with this, it allows you to be more mindful and intentional and you kind of know what to expect. And I think for some actors, not knowing what to expect is part of the reason why we can spiral. You talk a lot about owning the room. And I love that you talk about that because it empowers the actor. You sort of mentioned it even before, but what is your general advice there on how an actor can come into an audition and own the room?
I think that goes back to the confidence,
Mm.
your self confidence. You feel confident when you walk in a room. And the confidence to me also, besides your belief in yourself, comes from your own preparation. I feel if an actor is prepared enough, the more prepared you are, I feel the better you're going to do when you go in a room. Because then if the director throws you a curveball, you're
Hmm.
so prepared, you're going to handle it.
Mm.
Right. So preparation, I think, is super important when you come into the room. And I also feel it comes back down to that having that confidence because the more you feel that about yourself, I think the better you're going to do.
Mm. And it just
Isn't
feels
that
good.
anyway? Isn't that how it is in life, anyways? I
Yeah.
mean, and I'm not talking cocky. That's not what I mean by that. I
Hmm.
just mean you believe in yourself and know that you're going to do well, that you've got this, you know, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I always think about it in the way of other careers. A lot of people don't go into their office and just think they suck at it. They think, oh, this is my job. I'm good at it and I'm going to do it. And it's funny because in our industry, it's so tied with your personality and who you are that I think all these things get a little mixed up together. And sometimes that's not a good recipe. But if you don't have these foundational items, like you're saying, it can lead to you then spiraling during your auditions, during your at bats, when you have these opportunities. Let's say an actor feels like they're prepared, but maybe it's almost the opposite. They think they're so good for the role, they're so excited that they psych themselves out. Do you have any tangible tips for shaking that off? Let's say we're mid take and we just can't, we can't get out of our own way.
Yeah, so I was going to say that one of the things that I wanted to mention is when you're doing an audition, you cannot be in your head. And what I mean by that is you can't be saying lines and judging how you said them as
Mm.
you're doing it. So you're reading a line and in your head you're going, well, oh my God, I blew that. That's not how I wanted to do it. Oh my God, that's not,
Mhm.
oh, that was wrong. Oh, I'm so off. You cannot do
Triggered.
that
Yeah.
because then what you're doing, you're not in the moment. Right? Because what happens when you're on a set and an actor, you're doing a scene with another actor or a couple actors and they go and do something else, they throw an improv line in there or something. If you're in here, you're not in the moment, right? So I'm always trying to get I'm always working to get actors to not be in here. Do not be judging as you're acting. Create the character, make your choices, commit to those choices, and go for it and be there present, be authentic, be in the moment, and don't be prejudging or judging as you go. Now, I know
Mm.
that's easier said than done a lot of times, but it really is. How are you going to be in a moment? How are you going to
Mm.
be present? How do you be authentic to that character if you're judging it as you say it?
Yeah. I'm gonna clip that and play it before every audition from now on and just listen to it on
That
repeat.
does that make sense? Because
Yes.
a lot of actors do it. I'm in class when I'm teaching and I'm like, are you thinking about everything you're saying? They're like, yeah.
Mm.
And I'm like, you gotta let it go.
Yeah.
Just be and create and have fun. You've made your choices, just go for it. Stop judging it.
Yeah, I think a lot of us, when we start out, we have that judgment and it can be hard to shake. So that's going to be so helpful for listeners.
Yeah,
In looking at mindfulness and mindset, the founder of mindfulness, whose name is escaping me right now, but I'm still going to bring it up. Somebody fact check me. He actually talked about how his philosophy came to be because of washing his hands and washing the dishes and just being aware of the feeling of the water. And we all do that and don't think about it. But do you
right.
have any tangible things in that regard that you think could help actors be more mindful, and be more present?
Well, okay, I'm gonna go back to my Bryan Cranston, who I'm a huge fan of.
Yes, let's do
I've
it.
met a few times. I haven't had the pleasure of casting him, but
Oh, flex.
and I've run into him a number of times. I've tried to cast him, but he's always busy. Anyway,
Yeah.
I read this article and I think it's really great. And he said you should focus on the process rather than the outcome.
Mm,
And when he said that, and what he means, and this is what I took away from it, is when you focus on the outcome, that can create more stress and more anxiety and get you more in your head because you're focusing on, oh, I got to get this job. Oh, I really am perfect for this job. I'm going to get this job. You're focusing on the end and the result, and that's going to cause you more stress, right? But
hmm
if you focus on the process, how am I going to create this character? What am I going to bring to it? Oh, hey, I have a great idea. This guy could be this, or this role that could be so quirky and interesting. And if you focus on the process, that's going to bring you more joy
mm,
because that's what you should be doing as an actor is focusing on the process and
yeah.
creating and in having that gives you more joy and will give you less stress. And I think that is such such great advice because then you're not focusing on the outcome,
Mm,
you're focusing on what can I do to create? And that's what we as artists do. We create and we
yeah.
make an impact on an audience, right? That's what you as actors do. You make an impact
Mm,
by how your emotions and your attitudes and what you're putting out there. That and you're impacting us. And
mm,
we have these feelings and we are sad or happy or laughing or crying or pissed off based on what you're giving us. And
hmm
when imagine that's what you're doing and you get to create that. So that's what I think as actors is really important is don't focus on the outcome anymore
mm. That's
because
phenomenal.
that creates more stress, right?
Yeah. Process over product. I love that. I'm going to put that on a sticky note and put it right here on my wall.
I
No,
know.
that's
I read
great.
that. I read this article of Brian's, and I was like, man, he's so right. And so many people do it
Yeah.
because, you don't know, Rob, you don't know why somebody gets a job. There's so many factors that go into
Hmm.
casting. So let's say you could do an amazing audition. 10 guys could do great auditions, 5, how many ever. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter. Hundreds, whatever. What I'm saying is there's so many factors that go into casting a role about, how these people match together. What's the chemistry? Is the family look right? Is the best friends? Do the enemies, the antagonists, how do they all fit together? There's so many reasons. Okay, this role, we need this ethnicity, this thing. You don't know. So you can do a great, fabulous audition and not get the job because it just didn't fit on how the team saw that part, right?
Hmm.
But that doesn't mean you did a bad audition. So if you focus on the outcome, you're going, "Oh, I didn't get the role. That's so bad. I'm stink. Oh my God." You go the whole thing, you get in your head, right? But if you
Yeah.
focus on the process and you go, "Wow, I really enjoyed that. I got to create this amazing character. I met new people. I sent in a self-tape. That was so fun. I really enjoyed that."
Yeah, believe the positive thought, right? Believe the positive thought, not the negative ones. Let those go by. It's the same in life, you know? You're thinking, why isn't someone texting me back? Well, believe that they have the best intention. Believe that they're just busy. They have something else going on instead of spiraling and thinking they hate you. I think it's a human condition. But
100%. And we all do it. Let me
yeah,
tell you,
we all
I've
do it.
gotten that and like, wait, why didn't my son text me back? Yeah, all the time. Like, oh my God, I texted them like 2 days ago. What? Well, how come they didn't return my text? Why didn't they call me back?
It's hard. It's the benefit of
Yeah.
the doubt, I think, that can be tricky, but is needed. And it gets extra tricky, I think, for a lot of people when we're choosing self tape takes. Some alliteration there, just
Oh,
like your name, Lisa London, because then you
yes.
do have to see the product. So, what's your advice? And this could even be on a larger level for just how we see ourselves, but what's your advice there, mindset wise, for kind of looking at your takes, choosing them, and sending the best one versus looking at them and saying, I look horrible. I was awful. I need to retape.
Right. Okay. So my first piece of advice is, how many takes are you doing? Like, okay,
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you, how many takes do
Oh,
you normally do for a scene?
yeah. My new rule is I cap it off at 5.
Excellent. I'm very happy to
And
hear
then I
that.
always shoot the first one.
Yeah. Okay. So that's my first question because that's what I would tell actors. If you're doing more than like 4 or 5 takes of a scene, you are not only losing your authenticity, you're losing your vulnerability. It's becoming more kind of rote. You know what I'm saying? Because that is what happens. I met a girl once in a class I taught, and I said to her, how many takes are you doing? You know what she told me? 35.
30. We've all
35.
been there.
And I
Yeah.
said to her, okay, so you're a perfectionist and it
Mm,
doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. Perfect doesn't exist.
yeah.
So you can't do that to yourself. So my first piece of advice is don't do more than about 5 takes.
It's
Okay.
excellent advice because you'll
So that
also lose friends. You'll lose readers. Nobody's going to want to read with you if you're doing 37 takes, which we've all been
no,
there, you know?
it's ridiculous. And
Yeah.
not only that, you'll never find the perfect take
Mm,
because you're going to go, well, this moment was good in take 10 and this moment was good in take 15. If only I could combine them together. And then
yes.
you're trying to do that.
Yep.
That's ridiculous.
And why
Don't
do
do
you want to watch 30 takes of yourself? You
No,
don't. You
no.
don't.
So what you do is, this is my opinion on it. You do a couple of takes. This is how I do it. I do a couple of takes, like maybe 2 or 3, and I watch them.
Mm,
And like if I'm coaching, I have the act, let's watch them. Watch a couple of them. I can pretty much tell when I'm coaching somebody or I'm working with somebody, okay, this one's good. This take is great. Okay, that's perfect. Okay, let's do one more for safety and see what
mm,
else comes up. But I say you watch them after a couple. Do like 2. watch them, and you'll go, okay, that was great. Really like that. Okay, I think I can improve on this. And then maybe you do two more. I
Hmm.
wouldn't tape five and then go back and watch five. I would watch two, do one or do two of them, do a couple, watch them, evaluate it, and then go, okay, I feel I can make these moments stronger here, and then do a couple more. That's what
Hmm.
I would say. And
That's a
that's
good
how you would
reminder.
pick, in my opinion, because if you do five all at once before you watch them, that's kind of tricky.
Yeah. And they say, I think chaos is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. It's like, give yourself a pause. Why are you doing another take? Like, kind of think
Right.
about it.
Yeah. So if you do two and then watch, then you go, okay, I see I can fix this, do that. I'm going to add this moment here. I like that. Or you might go, you know what? That's great. I love it. And add the other thing I will say is say it. And this is one thing an actor messes up a word. Say you
Hmm.
mess up and you change a D or an A or whatever. Okay. Don't go, oh my God, I have to redo it because I didn't get that line perfect. Now, listen, I know there's certain directors and people, Aaron Sorkin, you can't change a word. That's the way it
Hmm.
goes. That's the way you have to do it. Got it. There's certain other people that's what you have to adhere to that, what they want. But others, you miss a word, you change a word, as long as it doesn't change the whole essence of the line,
Yeah.
that's fine. And you make sure in comedy you hit the comedic moment. Great. If you blew the comedic moment, yeah, you might have to redo
Yeah.
it, right? But that's what my advice is, so you don't get caught in going, I don't know which take to pick.
I think that's really smart. My agency is called Take Three, and that's a good reminder for me as well because I shouldn't do more than three takes. I usually do at least five, but you know what? I think it's also helped me to think of my mindset at least as walking into my room, your office, your bedroom, wherever it is, as the casting office. And when you
Yeah.
go into the casting office, they're probably not going to have you do more than two or three. So think of it that way and just make your reader cut you off. It's like they need to get you out of the room, lock you out. So I think
Right.
that's great.
And also, when you're on a set, how many takes do you think you're going to get?
True, especially
They
those
don't have
co-star roles.
time.
Yeah,
You're not going to get, especially on TV series and movies of the week, where, I mean, when they're trying to get it done. How many takes do you think you're going to get? Two
yeah.
or three?
You
That's
don't
it.
get a lot.
And I'll tell you something. One of the things that the self tapes are great because we can see so many more people. Like I'm in Los Angeles, but I cast movies everywhere, right? We cast all over the country, and we've done movies Atlanta, North Carolina,
Hmm.
Minnesota, Montana, Kentucky, New York. It doesn't matter. So we get to see a lot of people from a lot of places. But the disadvantage of this self-taping, that's the advantage, right? You
Hmm.
can be anywhere. Like you said, you can be in Connecticut and, get a job in New York. It doesn't matter. But the disadvantage is if you're home and you're doing 10, 15 takes because you keep doing it over and over and over. And
Hmm.
I think that is not the thing to do. That
Yes.
is not something you want to learn and get in your mind that, oh, I'm
Mm.
going to get 10 takes. That ain't going to happen. When you used to come in a room, we did a couple.
Yeah.
Remember those days when you
Oh,
came in a
yeah.
room and we
Yeah.
recorded you? You did, okay, that was good. Try this. Let's try this. Maybe did two or three, and that was it.
And now you have to be your lighting designer, your camera operator. You kind of have to do it all. So I think you got to find the perfect sauce for you. What makes you most comfortable? Is it having everything set up and it lives in a certain corner or closet and then you just go in there and you walk out and then it's done and you feel good? Does it stress you out to set it up beforehand? Should you do it the night before? I think it's personal, right? And
100%.
it's in our hands. But like you said, a lot of us are perfectionists. We'll never stop. Or maybe we're just having fun and we keep doing take after take. So this is a good reminder to just stop it, forget it, and then hopefully get on set, which you mentioned. And that was a question I had too, mindset wise. I think being on set can come with a whole new set of fears for people. And
Right.
I wonder, what is your advice there? What's your advice on mindset for actors going onto a set, maybe for the first time?
Well, I would say number one, make sure remember it's a business, so you have a job, you're professional, right? You come prepared, you come early or on time. Don't be late. I've
Mm.
known you don't want to know the stories of actors, didn't show up on time. I get the phone calls from the assistant director and the director.
Oh
So
no, I take it the
yeah.
opposite way. My first TV co-star, I literally got there 2 hours early. It was like 4 in the morning, and I was just in my car, like sleeping.
Oh my God,
And I
really?
was like, maybe I got here too early. I was just nervous about traffic. Anyway, I'm sorry, didn't mean to
What
interrupt.
time was your call time?
I think it was 6 a.m. in
My
Queens
God.
because the
So
traffic, you just never know.
no. Did you set an alarm though to know to wake up? So at 5:30
Yeah,
you
I like barely sleep. I was just laying there like this on my phone. Like I saw the crew pulling up. I'm like lowering my seat so no one sees me. Yeah, I was
Yeah,
just
but
too
that's
excited.
good. Be early, be
Okay.
prepared. Bring anything that you need to bring. If you're supposed to, sometimes on smaller projects, they have you bring your wardrobe, whatever it is. Just make sure you're super prepared, you're professional. But so all of that is important, right? But the number one piece of advice that I would tell people going on a set, be kind to
Hmm.
everybody.
Yeah.
Kindness matters. And I'm not just talking be kind to, the director, producer, actors. Be kind to the crew. They're
Mm.
working really hard. My son, I'll remember when I got him a job working on a movie that I cast. This was years ago for Adam Sandler called Sandy Wexler. And
Mm.
he got a job as a production assistant on the movie. And one of the producers came to me and said, "Oh, your son is so kind." And I was like, "Okay, good. He takes after me."
Oh, that's what you want to hear?
But
Yeah.
he knew all the crew. He knew the
Oh.
crew, like their names, he knew them. And I think that's really important. Learn people's names and be kind to people. You have to remember everybody's working together to create the best amazing product they can create. And
Mm.
it's a team and it's a collaboration. And that's really what this business is. It's a collaboration from everything from acting, writing, directing, producing, lighting, the makeup, the costumes, sound, every editing, every part of it is a collaboration. And I think that's the most important advice I could give to anybody, whether you're newer or you've been on a set before, be kind
Mm.
because everybody is working really hard to create an amazing product. And people, when they get kind of, jerky or whatever, why? It stands
Yeah.
out. Don't get into the ego things and parents with kids and the competition. Ugh.
Oh,
Just,
yeah. No.
you know, just be there and enjoy it. And obviously be kind to people. That's to me
Mm.
what I would
I
advise.
co-sign that. I love that so much. That would be my advice too, because we live in a world, especially now, where we need more kindness in
Yep.
every industry, I believe. And it comes back to you. If you go on a set and you're a little nervous, if you're kind to somebody, it's gonna come back to you. You're gonna get kindness back, which isn't the reason to do it, but it's a reason where I say, why not? Why wouldn't you do it?
Yeah.
It's literally science. It's contagious. So I love
Yeah.
that advice.
Yeah. And you know how it is. It's like, be grateful. You got a
Mm.
job, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're on a set. I mean, that's how I feel. Like
For sure.
I grew up on sets as we started this conversation, and that I love that. I love being on a set. That's part of what I miss when they're not shooting here or, if they're shooting in Kentucky. I don't get to go hang
Mm.
on the set.
Yeah,
I loved being on sets.
it's magic in the making. That's what they say
Magic
in
in the
Sunset
making.
Boulevard, it really
Yeah,
is.
it is. It's so much fun, and I love that process and talking to people. That's
Yeah.
what I miss. I
Yeah,
miss about that. I miss being in the room where it happens.
I know. We'll quote another musical, Hamilton.
Yeah.
Hey, it's
Hamilton, hey.
it's so true because you could watch yourself tape back later for that perspective and then watch the booking, and it's like you will never look like that without those hundreds of people that were working on the lighting, the costumes. It's so collaborative that it's just sad when that ego gets in the way, like you said. In regards to mindset in person too, I would love to know if you have advice on networking. Like what mindset can actors have there? Because that can be like a tricky word for some people.
Yeah, but you know what? You got to do it. That's what
Hmm.
I will say because you never know when you're going to meet somebody that they'll say, "Oh my God, I want to." The director, producer, casting. Oh, you'd be perfect for my next movie or
Hmm.
project or TV show, or we can collaborate on something. You don't know. Listen, even myself sometimes, I'm like, oh, I got to go to this thing. You got to. I love you got to get out. This is not a job where you sit home and you just wait for the phone to ring, which I
Hmm.
said earlier. So you got to get out because you never know who you're going to meet. You just don't.
Yeah, I
I
love that.
really feel, and I don't be afraid in any way, shape, or form as an actor. If you're at a event or you go to a screening or you're at a short film festival or you're at any kind of film festival or you're wherever you are, you're at the theater. Don't be afraid if you're there and you see producers, directors, casting directors, introduce yourself.
Yeah, make a
Where's
friend at the
make
least. It's
sure.
like
I
we're all here to
mean,
connect.
exactly. Just connect. Don't be, you know,
I'm sure you
all
get that as casting directors a lot. It's like you get people maybe
yeah,
nervous to come up to you, and it's
yeah. But
pretty
I'm
silly.
so like, you don't know. I'll meet at waiters, like I'll be in a restaurant and I'll go, that guy's an actor. I just can tell. And I'll go, are you an actor?
Yeah,
And he
most
goes,
of us are.
yeah. And I'll go, okay, I'm a Lisa London. I'm a casting director. And the guy would go, oh, really? And I go, yeah. And I'll go, here's my card. I'm so,
Oh, he's like,
what?
here's the menu, and here's also my resume on the
Yeah,
back.
no, I don't get that, but they'll say I'll DM you or whatever.
Oh,
But I feel don't be pompous about it. Do you know what
hmm,
I'm saying? But I go out and I'll meet producers or I'll meet directors, or I'll meet actors that I didn't know. And people will say, oh, yeah, we should sit down. And I met somebody recently down at the local coffee shop that I go to by my house,
hmm,
and an actress and a producer and and it was great. I was like, "Oh my God, I'm a huge fan of hers."
hmm.
Like Jillian Bell. I don't know if Jillian Bell, she's so
Shout
fun.
out. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I'm giving her a shout out. Her sister Brianna, they just made this movie. It's on Hulu. I'm giving them a shout out. It's called Summer of '69 with Chloe Fineman. It's
Oh,
so
I was gonna watch that last night. I heard it's
you
great.
should watch it. It's so fun.
Yeah.
When I met them at my local, I met them outside my local coffee shop. I love Jillian. I know her work. I introduced myself and we started chatting. And then I
Hmm.
emailed them and said, hey, can we have coffee?
That's so sweet. And look what came of it. A great interaction at the least, and then you never know what else will happen. So I think you're so right. It's a great reminder. I feel like anytime I've gone out and met people and just vibed, people want to work
Yeah,
with people they like. Like that you want to be
100%.
around people who you enjoy. And to some extent I've seen that to be very true in the industry. You mentioned Adam Sandler. He just wants to make movies with all the same people, all of his friends.
Yes.
So,
And and he does. He makes, he uses a lot of the same guys over and over. We did so many movies for him from Grandma's Boy where we put Jonah Hill in one of his early movies and
yeah.
like you mentioned Emma Stone and Catherine McPhee, who's now Catherine Foster,
Hmm.
we gave her first job in that movie, but it all comes from connection and relationships. So
Yeah.
you never know who you're going to meet by going out.
That's
So,
beautiful. Yeah.
right?
And this all happened because we connected online. Look at that, everybody. Come
I
on.
know because you made those really funny videos and I really liked your videos and I kept commenting on them and
That's so
I was
sweet.
like,
I'm a little
yeah.
Muppet, short and stout.
You were so funny and you made me laugh all the time. So I was like, oh,
Oh, you're so sweet. And you inspire me all the time on social media. And now my cheeks hurt. I keep smiling.
I
I usually play a game called Casting Keywords, which maybe we'll play next time, but I actually made a custom game just for you, Lisa.
love.
This is
Okay.
sort of like an affirmations based game since you're so good at putting up these reels where you speak to actors and give them such great bite sized advice.
Okay. Okay.
So this is called Casting Confidence with
Okay.
Lisa London.
All right.
Lisa, I'm going to throw out a common actor scenario or feeling. And for each one, just give us a quick affirmation or piece of mindset magic. Does that make
Okay.
sense?
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Well, I
You'll get
should.
the hang of it once I start to say these phrases.
Okay, so an affirmation phrase or something for your whatever you say.
Yeah, it's almost like we're writing a letter. So I'm going to say to an actor who da 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 da. And then you say whatever beautiful thing you're going to say.
Okay,
Okay. Okay. We'll have
I'm
fun.
ready for this.
Okay. This
Okay,
will be a good time.
okay.
And this will be to all different types of people listening. So we're going to speak to people directly. To an actor who feels discouraged today.
Never give up hope because you don't know when that one audition is going to turn your life around.
Oh, I love that. So you're already nailing this.
I mean, and I would go on a story, but John Krasinski's got a great one about
Oh,
that.
you
Do
can
you
always
know
go on
that?
a tangent with me. I'm a safe
Okay, do
tangent
you
person.
know that story about John Krasinski told his mom? I'm going to paraphrase it so you guys can look it up to get it exact. I'm sure it's out there on YouTube or whatever. But he told his mom he wanted to be an actor. His mom said, okay, but once you go do this, don't ask me to pull you out because I can't do it. And so after a couple of years, I think it was, he got discouraged and he called his mom and he said, I can't do this anymore. And she said, honey, why don't you give it to the end of the year and then we'll see what happens? And like a few weeks later, a month later, he got the office.
I love that. And that's so true with Melissa McCarthy had a similar story. I think she said by her 30th birthday, she was just going to throw the towel in because it wasn't happening after years of auditioning. And that's when she got Gilmore Girls, which was her first kind of big break. So it's such wonderful reminders. Hang in there, everybody. Okay, let's say there's an actor who's hanging in there, but this is to an actor who just got rejected from a dream job.
Oh, yes. And how many times has that happened where an actor really wanted that job so bad? You know what I'm going to say to that? When one door closes, another one opens. I know that's
Love that.
probably cliche,
I love a
but,
cliche.
and we've all had that where we wanted that job. I've had it as a casting director where I
Mm.
wanted a job so bad and I didn't get it. And I was bummed. And I am going to tell you, be bummed for like 24 hours and then move on. Don't sit in it because when one door closes, another one opens. And I
Mm.
had that personally happen to me where, a very long time ago, very early in my career. I mean, this is gonna be like total honesty. Well, I'm honest anyways, but I was working on a movie and we got fired. I got fired off this movie because the director, whatever, we didn't vibe, we'll just say.
Yeah,
And you know what? I was bummed out. And the next day, I got a meeting on Arliss for HBO, and I ended up
incredible.
casting 7 seasons on Arliss. Yeah,
Wow. Look
yeah,
at that. Thank you
yeah.
for sharing that and being open because I think that's relatable for actors too, for everybody in any business. It's like sometimes it's just not the right fit and you're trying your best to make it fit and you're a good person, but for whatever reason, it doesn't happen. And there's always going to be something else. It's like you fall down 10 times, you get up 11 to have another
That's
cliche in
correct.
there.
So when one door closes, another one opens, and that's exactly what happened to me. And
Mm.
so that's what I would say.
Okay. Well, what would you say when us actors are on there, though, seeing people on social media, not your beautiful videos, but maybe things that we start to
Oh,
compare ourselves to? So this
oh.
is to an actor who feels like everyone else is doing better than them.
Yeah, okay. Do not compare yourself with the Joneses. That's my first piece of advice about that. Listen, you can't do it. You can't compare yourself because you are your own unique self and we're looking for that. We're looking for you to bring your own unique self to a role. So do not compare yourself to anybody else out there because you are not the same as anybody else.
Hmm.
And we're looking for you. And people forget that because they compare themselves, we all do it. We look at that social
Yeah.
media, oh, that person's got mm, 30 more thousand followers than me. It's like,
Yeah.
so what?
Yep.
It doesn't matter. It does not
They might not
matter.
even be real. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like you don't even know. It's really about you creating the content you want to create. It's about you creating your unique self and you put out whatever you want to put out on social media. But remember that what we're looking for is you and your
Hmm.
unique qualities. So you comparing yourself to somebody else, you don't know how long it took this person to get their first job, but you don't
Hmm.
know any of that, right? So I would say don't compare yourself to the Joneses.
Yeah, I love that. Who are the Joneses even anyway? They can stay in their house and lock the door. I think it's funny the way I laid this out because the next one I actually have is to an actor who feels like they don't know who they are, who feels like they don't know what makes them unique.
Wow. Okay. So if you don't know what makes you unique, then I'm going to say, then you need to, my advice for that would be get in a class and start trying, not trying. I don't like, my friend Gil says, don't use the word try.
There's
Get in
only
a
do.
class. Only do, don't use try. So, Gil Jackson always says that to me. Don't use the word try. And he's
Yeah,
right.
my nanny
So,
says that a lot. There's only doing.
yeah, doing. I would say get in a class and experience different types of roles and see what you feel like, oh, I could do this. Or,
Mm,
oh, wow, I'm bringing my unique self to this kind of part. This thing isn't exactly my vibe. Maybe I'm not that lawyer type, but I'm really good playing that crazy, quirky neighbor next door. I
hmm,
feel you have to experience. Like if you're not sure, how are you going to figure it out? If you're not
mm.
sure what your unique personality is or what your unique vibe is, go start doing things.
Yeah.
Like doing things, putting it, you can also, you put things out there and you see, okay, this resonates with me. This is who I really am. But also be willing to grow because as an actor, what if you try something and you working on a role and you go, I don't really like it's the same. Rob, you get an audition and you go,
Hmm.
I don't know if this is
Hmm.
really my vibe. Well, if it's not something that goes against your moral principles, then you should go for it and
Yeah.
see what you can create in it because you never know. Maybe that's the thing that creates this super interesting energy and essence and vulnerability that you didn't even know you had.
Mm. And in this day and age, it's such a win just to get an audition. So also trust casting that they saw something in you. How many times do we watch a TV show and then if you actually analyze it, it's like, oh, I wouldn't actually peg that that person's a police officer or a detective in real life, but they're great in the show. It's perfect in the story, you know. So
Absolutely.
it's so true.
And you should really, I want to add that think outside the box. Like I
Mm,
always tell actors when you make choices, that was one thing I forgot to say that outside the box, it should fit what the character would do, but like make a choice that could be a bit outside the box. That's what I like. Because
mm,
if I saw 50 actors, I'll guarantee you 45 of them are going to do it the same. And there'll
yeah.
be those five that maybe did something different. And when they do something different, that could be the thing that we're looking for that we didn't
Yeah.
even think. So don't be afraid to think outside the box. So when you're trying to figure out who you are as an actor and a
Hmm.
character or whatever that is, think outside the box.
Yeah. I actually thought about the other day Robin Williams in Mork and Mindy. I think his audition was he went in there and did it upside down.
Standing on his head.
Yeah,
That's
as I was
correct.
auditioning for something, I thought about that because it was for a genie. I won't say what just in case I don't know if I signed
Yeah,
something, I can't remember. But I thought about that. It's like also something that should just be fun for you. Do something that amuses yourself in a creative way.
exactly. And that's where we got back to your working on process because process brings the joy.
Mm. Well, speaking of the joy, you know what brings the joy? Booking. And I wonder, in addition,
Absolutely. Yes.
what's your sentiment to an actor who isn't booking and just feels like, oh, I just keep auditioning and I'm just getting nothing?
Okay, well, first I would ask them if maybe they need an outside opinion. So maybe there might be somebody who maybe they need to have some coaching. And I only say that because sometimes you need an outside perspective.
Hmm.
Right? That could be one angle. You could talk to your agent or manager and say, hey, if they're watching your auditions, is there something else that you need to be doing? And it could also be that they're doing these auditions, and I know you can get discouraged, like I said. And sometimes one girl I saw who I know, an actress, she said it had been 2 years and 70 auditions she's had in the last 2 years. And she finally booked another role. Like it had been a couple years since she'd
Hmm.
worked. So you don't know. You just
Yeah.
have, if you love the game, you have to keep going.
Oh, I love that. Keep playing.
Keep playing. You can't give up. It's just I know it can be discouraging, and that's part of the trick of doing a lot of self tapes and not getting feedback,
Hmm.
right? But
Yeah, it
you
is
do get
tricky.
feedback if you get a call back. You do get feedback if you get a redirection. If you're with the same casting director and they keep having you audition and audition, that's feedback.
Yeah, that means they like something about what you're doing and they want to help you. They want to get you
Right.
cast. Yeah.
So, but you can do those things. Get coaching if you don't get coaching, to get an outside perspective, maybe, or talk to your agent and manager if they're looking at your tapes. Is there anything else I can be doing? And then remember, it's a game where there's a lot of opinions and there's a lot of reasons why people get cast and don't get cast.
Hmm.
So, if you love it, you keep playing.
Persistence. I think that's such great advice to end on. But speaking of giving, we always end here on How We Roll with a got and a give. And I will say we've taken How We Roll to a whole new level as both of us are on rolly chairs. And this whole time I'm like, woo. Anyway, sorry, I just
I
had to say
hope
that.
I wasn't rolling too much.
They see us
Although I talk
rolling. No,
I
it was
talk with
awesome.
my hands a
Me
lot, so
too.
I
Me too. I usually
wasn't.
smack the mic at least once. I didn't do that
Yeah,
today, but there's still
yeah,
time.
yes. Okay.
But we always end with a got and a give. So maybe we can make this mindset themed for this episode. This is a piece of advice you've gotten and then one you've given, sort of the best pieces you have for people in this industry. So we could start with the got.
Okay. The best piece of advice I ever got was from my father. And my dad, Jerry London, my amazing father,
Oh,
said to me, "You cannot take it too seriously."
mm,
And that is really because there's been many moments in my life, Rob, where like I said, either was a job I wanted or this went south or that. And he goes, and I would do what I'm telling you, all of these actors today, what I'm saying. I go right in here and go, all
yep,
those
in the
thoughts.
head.
And he
Yeah.
goes, "Lisa, it has nothing to do with your abilities. You are an amazing casting director. You can't take it too seriously." So that's the
Hmm.
best piece of advice I've
What an
ever gotten.
amazing dad. Yeah, that's great
Yeah.
advice.
Yes.
And on the opposite end, well, you did just give us all advice, but what's the best piece of advice you have to give to actors? I know people probably ask you that question all the time, but I'm going to ask it anyway because you're so
I
good in an interview setting. You have these great answers ready to go.
I would say my best piece of advice is, what are you doing right now? Everybody out there, what are you doing right now to stay creative? And remember that we are all artists, and artists are the ones who make a huge impact in this world. So that's what you should be doing right now, is what can you do to constantly keep creating, because you're an artist.
That's beautiful. That reminds me of, I think Viola Davis said it recently. It's not about what she does and what she books. It's about how people feel when they watch her work. It's about the other
Right.
people. And I think that's a similar way to put it. And I also will say, if you're listening to this right now, give yourself a cookie or a reward later because that means you're doing something to further your career. So just by tuning in today, I want to thank you. I think you're on the right track and keep rolling along. It's hard, but we have amazing people like Lisa in this industry to guide us, be our little lighthouses with the light shining us where to go. And I just think it's been such a wonderful time together. So thank you for doing this, Lisa. I really appreciate it.
Oh, thanks so much for having me, Rob. That was so fun.
You're so fun. And I hope actors get so much out of this. I know they will.
I hope so too. That's so amazing. And I really appreciate it. And I hope everybody does well out there,
Yeah.
keeps creating on their career, because that we need you.
Keep creating. Yes.